How's everybody doing? I'm just approving some requests. This is Triplet Dad 007. It's my first Twitter Spaces. So cut me a little bit of slack. I'm just having people join in the group right now. How's everyone doing?
Great. Good evening. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, guys. What's happening? Yasmin, what's going on?
Yasmin's in here. Awesome. All right. Scott, come back. Guys, just let people join up for a bit.
Yeah, I'm just tagging some people as well and just trying to get some people to join.
Okay. And
What's going on, everybody?
Even though we're not on YouTube, I'm still smoking a cigar, you guys. So don't worry about that.
I was worried. So what are you smoking tonight?
I am smoking a New World number 3. It's actually a good cigar.
Better than the New World number 2?
Most definitely. It's one better.
More power.
Yeah.
Nice. CZ, what's going on, girl? Jesse, Reese, what's up, guys?
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Approve. And approve. I approved everybody. This is Triplet Dad, and I approve those people.
Hey, good evening, my PowerCity family.
Good evening. How you doing?
Fabulous. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
For once, we get to host you, and you get to have the fun, right? Versus working for everybody else, and you're always working.
Yes, I'm going to sit back here. I'm going to eat my dinner and just hang out with you guys.
Awesome.
What's for dinner?
Oh, I'm a keto girl, so I made beef sausage, bell peppers, jalapeno, onions, and it's just yummy, yummy, yummy.
Fantastic. Don't get me started on keto and carnivore. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, I'm a meat-eating fool.
Get Katie up here. Katie, come on up.
Crypto time. You want me to invite Katie?
Sorry about that. We're just letting some people join before we get started, guys. Hello. It's Wednesday, huh? Already.
Unless you're in Australia.
Thursday in Australia.
Yeah, Thursday in Australia.
It's Thursday.
Ty, welcome. Hope you're feeling better, buddy.
Ty.
Excuse me. It's been a slow recovery. Sorry.
Buddy. He's been dying,
just
dude.
Getting fat being a walrus, laying around.
Got the wallies up, bro. He's looking sick. Ty, I learned a new word today. I cooked up a chook for dinner.
What?
In the cooker, not the Barbie. Okay.
Is this CZ's stream?
What?
You mean a chook? A chook.
What is a chook?
Chook.
Chook? Is that like Turkish food or?
Chook. No, that's what Aussies call chicken, right?
Oh, okay.
I learned it from KDP over here.
That's from Katie.
Oh my gosh.
With the slang.
Well, greetings, everybody. Thanks for joining. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces. We got Reese from the PowerCity team in here. The Hexy B, KDP, JZ, and CZ Hexing. Wow, we got the Power team in here. Thank you so much.
Oh, awesome, guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Toshi, would you like to be co-host also? I have Ty as a co-host. Would you like to be a co-host?
Sure.
All right.
And we have Jesse. Thanks for joining tonight, buddy.
Toshi, when are you going to start sending some of that sick art that you're making to Australia?
What's that, bud?
I want some of that sick art here in Australia. Some of those seats you make, the barrel seats, they're amazing.
Barrel chairs. Oh yeah, man. Those are fun, bro. Yeah, I can stick them in a container. Let's go.
I like the crystal lamp thing better.
He was channeling his inner crystal method, right?
Exactly. Nothing is
Actually, I thought you were talking about the hand grenades, man. Those awesome hand grenades that he's got going on for NFTs.
Those are fun. I think we're going to give away one tonight. I think we're going to give one.
Yeah, I dig the hand grenades as well.
So sadly, we cannot announce tonight that there has been any new announcement on the status of PulseChain. So we'll have to find something else to talk about this evening.
Yeah, just because Triplet Dad 007 is showing up as PowerCity.io doesn't mean that this is a PowerCity chat, you guys. This is anything and everything PulseChain.
Wow, then I must be in the right spot.
Right?
You've been told that before, I'm sure. This is the right spot.
Absolutely.
When pussycats.
Hey, did you did you bring up that inner pussycat called KDP? Is she coming up or what?
I told her to. She's not listening. Get over here, Katie.
I'm looking for requests. No.
Well, as we go through things, feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions for the panel here or have anything you want to mention, crypto or not related. So we had, I'm trying to think like what's new in the Hex arena these days. I think there was a new announcement for something around Hedron. I don't know if there's any Hedron experts around here, but there's something going on there. Otherwise, it's
I would like to talk a little bit about Richard getting a Ferrari stuck in the sand.
Wait, what?
What?
That really bugs me. And I commented on his picture that I'm going to need proof of the 145 IQ from this point forward, because getting a Ferrari stuck in the sand, unbelievable.
That can't be a high Mensa score.
No, it's not. But I told him to have fun. He's literally wheeling a Ferrari.
Because I only missed one on the Mensa test, dude, and I've never gotten a car stuck in the sand. Now, snow, that's a different story.
Yeah, well, that's different. So, what did you hear about that project, LV?
Just that it was a name change for what was previously being called Hemdrom, and now it's being called Icosa. So there's some stuff going on over there. Not sure if people have heard anything about it. It's nice to see, many projects working on things to build on top of Hex, to expand on, what Hex can do, right? I mean, when you look at Hex, it does one thing, but it does one thing extremely well, right? If you want something that will emulate, a traditional type of bond or CD scenario, it does it extremely well, right? And it's going to run on Ethereum and on PulseChain forever until those chains are gone and shut down. So why not build on top of that to expand it and to add more functionality around it? And it's wonderful to see multiple projects now being announced, right? You got the Hedron and Icosa thing going on. You got Maxi and Team and the base that they're doing. We got Flex that we're doing within PowerCity. You have the Hex Trust Fund. So there's many things that are going on, all designed to find ways to lock up Hex and take it off the market and drive create buy pressure and positive adoption for Hex, which I think is awesome.
Magic Carpet Ride might throw its ring in there, but that's as far as I'm willing to go.
Hey, just want to tell you guys real quick off the subject a little bit, but hey, awesome stream the other day. Just want y'all to know that. I watched it. Amazing. Good job. First time I got to see you guys stream, so it was awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, I had to move, so we took a little bit of a hiatus, but we're getting back into the thick of it. We're going to be doing Twitter Spaces and more streams. The schedule's getting full.
Hey, just don't forget about the little people, motherfucker, okay?
No, never will. Never will. I'm a little people.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, CZ's after hours or after darks Twitter Space is the place to be on weekends for sure.
I have to join. I got to start doing the Twitter Space thing. Just always doing something else. But so after dark Twitter Spaces over the weekend, I will be in.
I mean, I don't
She had a
know.
killer
Are you going to
live
be
a
able to
couple.
handle it? I mean, I don't know if you can handle it or not. We talk a lot of shit. So, I mean, like, you got to come in with your big boy draws on.
Have you seen any of the episodes of Triplet Dad Grinds His Gears? That's me. I'm the guy with the cigar. I have the big boy pants.
Oh, I fucking love it. Yes. You are welcome, my dear.
So, question for Jesse: any news on liquid loans and sacrifice balances? Since you're here, I might as well ask because I know everyone else is asking, right?
That's a great question, Jesse.
No, and we're not giving another date.
That sounds familiar.
The balances for 99.99% of everybody have been verified, checked, cross-referenced, select people from the community brought in to look over the numbers and audit them and look at all the on-chain transactions. There are just a handful of transactions that we're doing what we can with no expectations to work these individuals into the mix because they sacrifice from some freaking weird chains with some unusual coins. So we just have to double and triple check what the liquidity look like or what it currently is and what the value of those weird tokens were at the time of sacrifice. So there's just a few outliers in there because we don't want to leave anyone behind.
Did you guys get any Amber Turd tokens?
No, we didn't get any shit coins, but people were certainly sacrificing stuff that wasn't on the list. Not a whole lot of people. It is a small percentage, but we don't want to leave that small percentage behind. I'm sure none of those people did it on purpose. They were just excited and didn't read everything before they sent or whatever. So it would kind of suck for them if they got left behind. And there's no rush, right? So we collectively as a community can wait because we want those people to participate too and bring all their friends along with them, right? So we're just doing the right thing to make sure everyone's included.
That's awesome, man. And that's hard
Well, it's
work.
proof. Yeah.
I know the Magic Carpet Ride wallet had so many off the wall coins for that the liquid loan sacrifice. It wasn't even funny. It was absolutely crazy.
I think it's proof that it's not nearly as simple as just extracting a CSV file from Etherscan and pulling it up in Excel and there's your numbers, right? There's so much more complexity to doing it right, putting the care in to make sure the numbers are fair and accurate, and especially when you look at some of these sacrifices, some of them were more complicated than others, right? If you look at what Richard Hart did, taking certain coins from certain blockchains turned out to be very difficult to pull the pricing data for them, right? And to be able to map some of that information, like if I remember correctly, like Tron and some of these others turned out to be more challenging than they anticipated, right? Which drew out the whole process of trying to get those balances correct.
Mm-hmm. Let me give an example that probably applied to Richard's spreadsheet as well. I don't know because I'm not involved with how he worked his math out, but I'm sure other big sacrifices face the same challenge if anything ever came in from an exchange. And I think this is probably why Richard's took so long, like part of the reason. Like, I don't know for sure. But imagine accepting from an exchange, and on some of these exchanges send from a hot wallet, and it's the same address for everybody, right? Because they'll have 5 or 10 different hot wallets. So although you link your MetaMask address, like it's still being received from like the same wallet. So when it shows up, the math works out where those people are all collectively receiving a bigger bonus than they're entitled to because it all showed up from the same wallet, and it's calculating it as a bigger, better bonus for all the people that sacrifice from that same exchange. So you gotta identify those people and say, well, wait a minute, these people aren't entitled to that bigger, better bonus just because they sacrifice from the same exchange. So then you gotta work out where they fall in line with everybody else, and then shift everybody else's numbers around to make them fit and stuff, right? And it's a little bit complex, and I'm sure Richard faced some of these same challenges.
So that's all like Coinbase 1, Coinbase 2, right?
Correct. So imagine if it shows up and there's 100 or 500 people that sacrifice from Coinbase, so it's all calculating that they get a massive whale bigger better bonus because it all came from the same address, right?
How are you guys dialing that transaction, Coinbase 1 or Coinbase 2? How are you dialing that into a wallet?
Well, nobody was we didn't accept from exchanges. There were a handful of people that made mistakes, and Dave and Christian have a very thorough vetting process for those people if they wish to continue forward in their participation to make sure that they are who they say they are and whatnot. So I can't disclose that. In fact, I'm not even involved in that process, but they have a very thorough process to make sure those people are who they say they are, the ones who accidentally step from an exchange.
I know when we were doing our final calculations, I came across a bunch of people in your guys' sacrifice that were coming from Coinbase 1 and 2, and I sent those folks over. I sent those wallet addresses to Dave Christian. We've had the same experience, right? We had to go one by one by each transaction and go through a process that Ty handled most of that, getting people dialed in. It took hours or a day to get 90 just like you said, 99% of the people done it. And then it took us 4 or 5 days, almost a week, to get all those other transactions sorted.
Crazy, man. Hey, so Alex had his hand up. He had a question, so I brought him up as a speaker. Alex, what's up, man?
Hey, I was just popping in here to talk to you guys. I'm the Alex from Pedro and my co-host, by the way. Not many people know my person.
Oh man, your mic's so wrecked, bro. You're uber wrecked.
Is this the Alex?
Yeah,
It is Alex from
Alex.
Pedron. You might have to just fix
Pedron
your microphone.
Alex.
What's up, man?
Hey, Alex.
Actually, Alex would love to hear more about what you're doing on the. Wow, we're getting a lot of feedback from you, Triplet Dad. If you can go on mute when you're not speaking.
Okay.
Alex, I saw your tweets about working on a node project for PulseChain. Provide node services for developers and devs. Would love to hear about it if you're willing to share.
Yeah, is my mic still work?
A little hard to hear, yeah.
Right, give me a second.
It's nice to have you in the room, Alex. Thank you for joining us.
Is that any better?
Much better, yeah.
Oh, you're way better.
Yeah, so working on a lot of stuff, man, but primarily working on Icosa, and yeah, I'm doing some stuff to create a more or less Infura fork that's kind of expanded to also try to include hosting some subgraph stuff. That's pretty important. So really just kind of looking at all of the more like centralized accessory services that makes like Ethereum Web3 good, and ensuring we have those on PulseChain since we have a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's funny. Pulse Jesus and I were talking just earlier about some of the challenges of trying to build something new on PulseChain versus on Ethereum or Phantom or Avalanche, and good node support, indexing of the blockchain data, graph support, oracles. These are all things that we have in Ethereum, right, and some of these other chains, but you don't have for Pulse Chain. It's new, right? But we need these to kind of allow more of these forked over contracts or big projects to really come to fruition, right?
Yeah, and it's like a lot of them are not easy. It's like the biggest, more or less, Ethereum node provider is Infura, and they kind of do their own thing as far as like their API goes. But trying to clone that entirely is probably not worth it, because people used to use Infura because they cached events, but with the complexity of DeFi, Infura's event caching really kind of sucks, and everyone uses subgraphs anyway. So really, it's like you need the ability to spin up either full or archive nodes at will. You need subgraph support and some kind of oracle. I forget what I looked at. There's a decentralized-ish one. It's like DIA, I think is what it's called. And they kind of aim to do what Chainlink does, but you can kind of run your own indexers and stuff. So I'm looking at how can we adapt that to Pulse, because it seems to be multi-chain friendly. So yeah, it's work.
Yeah, it's a big undertaking, bro. It just is, but we need it.
Yeah, it's something I think people would probably get around to eventually anyways, but I'm just kind of like, well, if we can have it early, it's better, especially to kind of talk to some of these other projects and say, hey, we have all this stuff. You guys can come here and it's real easy for you.
Sure. I mean, I know for PowerCity, it's something that we have on our roadmap, right? But it's much further out because there's other things being done right now. And then to solve some of these problems right now, like a lot of teams, not just us, we had to stand up our own node. We had to come up with our own indexing, process to serve our own dApps, right? So you have a lot of teams that are trying to kind of solve the same problems, right? And hopefully we can get many services, providing, this is a key backbone, infrastructure type of thing, and we need a lot of it for a Pulse chain to be able to grow and scale very quickly, right? Hopefully, look, if we're lucky, day one we're going to have millions of new users, right? Because all these people will find out they had a free airdrop. We need to be ready to support them, right?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want is everyone coming to PulseChain en masse, because it's like the bottom of the bear market and they know they got some free stuff that they want to dump and try to recoup some losses. And all of a sudden the nodes break because everyone's using the same RPC endpoint, and it's, not designed. Like, I don't care how well that RPC endpoint is designed in AWS or wherever it is. Like, you have a big bunch of thousands of people come at once, like it's going to get overloaded. I mean, even Infura it gets overloaded. Granted, they kind of suck too, but it is what it is.
Well, it's nice to know, this Pulse chain is a unique opportunity where the community has foreknowledge and time to actually build all these things around it, right? This is going to be practically the first community run chain ever, right? Because we all knew about it, we all sacrificed for it, and now we're all building various different projects to help drive adoption for it, and to help others be able to build as well, and for some of these forked over projects to be able to adapt their contracts and their crypto to Pulse chain. I mean, be amazing. So usually it's empty and you're begging people to come build, and this is a unique opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity probably the community should do. The biggest reason is if you wait long enough, someone like Infura or the Graph or whatever, those companies behind those kind of like centralized infrastructure things, they're just going to do it. And what that's ultimately going to be is like, well, if it's Infura, well, they're not going to accept Pulse for payment. They're going to accept ETH. So that means everyone building on Pulse is going to have to go bridge over to ETH and dump it over there. And like, that's not really a great tokenomic. Or like the Graph where you got to go pay on Polygon, stuff like that. So having something chain native that's 100% supporting, and then whatever payment system there has to be can just accept the native token, is probably the best outcome.
And even better, not backed by VCs and big bankers and whatnot with their own ulterior motives, right? I mean, I think that's the unique side of this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'd love if there's a way to more decentralize that stuff. It's like, the biggest problem is like just the amount of load you're gonna see, because people have asked me, hey, you're doing this Infura stuff, like I want to run one, and it's like, okay, well, do you have battery backup, a 230 kilowatt generator, and about $100,000 at least of machines? If not, you're probably not gonna be all that successful. And so it's like, it's not necessarily centralized because it can't be decentralized. It's more centralized because the barrier to entry on that stuff is just really high.
Well, yeah, the people consuming the data from nodes, right? They demand, especially if we're going to charge Infura level pricing, right? They demand always up, high quality, high response times, always synced up, always current, always updated with the latest version of the node software, right? They have to have the best, right? Otherwise, they would just stand up their own node and go do the work themselves. And having someone in their basement set up a little Raspberry Pi with an old laptop hard drive isn't going to cut it, right? You can use that for your own, analysis of the blockchain data if you want, and be able to learn. But if you want to run, large scale dApps, you're going to need large scale services. And those services, this is where we have lots of discussions within, our team even on what's better centralized and what's better decentralized. And in reality, not everything is better in a decentralized form, right? Some things just give you a better experience when they are somewhat centralized, like hosting services for these nodes, right?
Yeah, and that's it's amazing how complicated it is to make that stuff fast. I'll say that because, maybe it's on one hand demanding, but on the other hand, it's also just like the way the Ethereum blockchain, which we're forking, is. But like the hardware requirements to run a node, pretty small on paper. The hardware requirements to run a node that is always in sync and always fast to respond, way different.
Yeah, and every person building their own project right now has to go solve that problem themselves, right? They have to go find a server somewhere that they can set up and that they can host and they can configure and they can sync up and so on until we have services like this and others. It's all homegrown, right? And this is the challenge of a brand new network. But these are the types of things that they're not the sexy parts of crypto, but they are like critical infrastructure, like bridges and tunnels and things.
Yeah, I think like a weird thing I thought about the other day was like, what's going to make people delegate Pulse to validators? Like on one, certainly the technical side, right? You want to ensure whatever validator you're delegating to is like, performing well enough that you actually, profit as much as you can. But additionally, people are going to pick validators partially because they just like who's running it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure David Feeder's validator will be fantastic, but at the same point, a lot of people are doing it because they like David Feeder. And if Liquid Loans guys run a validator, people will delegate to them just because they like Liquid Loans. So maybe
True.
having a fast hosted validator service isn't entirely bad.
Right. We'll check this out. We've gone down this topic before, and regardless who you are, all of those 33 validators get to process the same quantity of transactions. The difference then becomes how diluted are you in each of those, like if you delegate to one versus delegating in another. And while a whole bunch of people may like one, like they're like, oh, I like David Feeder. Well, if like 99% of everybody delegates to him, the return is gonna suck, right? But the returns on all of the other ones are gonna be much, much better, and they all get the same amount of transactions. So you'll end up seeing people realize this and then start rebalancing and spreading out across all of the validators, I feel, regardless who the name is behind it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes. We have it on testnet to a degree, but it's going to be one thing. Like in a situation where, let's say, 99% of people delegate it to a specific validator, if even though it's unprofitable, like if you kind of don't count that part, the interesting thing is like, what happens if that validator ever goes down? You just have a mass swash of people all mass migrating to different validators swapping around. It's gonna be fun to watch that play out.
I'm waiting for someone to build a layer 2 validator delegation platform that will automatically track the validator's performance and their slashing and jailing stats, and will automatically delegate you to the best return at any given point in time. Now, that would be something cool to build.
Yeah, I agree. And I've only mildly played with validators, but what happens when a validator needs to update their node to like a new software? Do they technically go offline for a short time, or can they? I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that question. Or do they have the ability to load balance so that doesn't happen?
You can load balance if I guess it depends on your setup. First off, if you're doing it out of your house or something, and you're trying to manage your own servers, it starts to become really risky. But I think a lot of the validators are running through Amazon Web Services, and as long as you pay for like the highest tier of service, like you have backups, you can take one, a set of servers down and update it while the other one's still running. And they'll always like inform you of the latest updates and stuff. Like, so, and you don't have to worry about your own power going up. They have, of course, backup power supplies like out the yin yang and stuff. You'll end up seeing people who try and run these things at their house. Like they'll run good for a while, and then oops, power went out. Oops, it's been out for 6 hours, and then their up system ran out of juice, and then it went down, and then like those are the sort of people who you probably should have went through a hosted service somewhere. But I mean, luckily there's 32 other validators that are running, so it'll all be fine.
What's the reality? You want an enterprise level service, you need enterprise level services providing that service, right? So, hosted servers and with a super high fast, connection to the internet, backbone connection with, redundant power solutions, with always on, maintenance of the server hardware and the software, yada, 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 right? I mean, it becomes a job to maintain it if you want to run your own rack in the basement, because you have all that equipment that you have to put around it to make sure that you never go down ever and that you're always running at top performance. Or you go to the experts to do that, and those are these same experts that are running half the internet and are, systems as a service functions out there, right?
Right, and there's people out there who may say, well, that's centralized, it can be shut down. Well, I mean, if Amazon, like you said, they're running half the internet, if not the whole internet, and without internet, there's no crypto anyway.
Well, what I find, there's some like just interesting things that are probably going to play out at some point. It's like, one, a lot of people think doing something like AWS is very cheap, and if you live probably like if you're in the United States, because it's my best comparison, and you live in like a coastal city, so basically anywhere, California, New York, or whatever, yeah, it's probably vastly cheaper to use AWS than try to do it yourself, because the power and space costs are ginormous. But the bandwidth costs on AWS will add up. Like, they seem very small at first, and then you just start syncing nodes, and it's like, oh wow, this is going to be like 6 figures a year, potentially. Depends on how active the chain is. So, like, I'm curious to see how many people try to spin up validators and then not enough people delegate through them, and like balancing that cost to return ratio. Additionally, if everyone just picks AWS, AWS does go down. Like, it's not very often. It's about once every couple of years. But like last year, it went down for 3 days. So that'll be interesting.
Well, that also raises questions about redundancy and the decentralization from a geographical point of view, right? If you end up using the same company for services, even if those data services are warehoused in different locations around the world, right? But they're all the same provider. Think of it as an inherent risk to the blockchain, because if that service provider goes down, your blockchain goes down, right? So the greater diversity we have in service providers for your hosted servers and validators and geographically located around the world and so on, the better, right?
Yeah, one thing I'll add is that if you're thinking of doing a validator on like a hosted system like AWS, most of those all kind of interconnect. So like you can put one on AWS and you can put one on Azure, and then Cloudflare has a thing, and there's smaller ones like DigitalOcean and I think Vultr. You can put a lot of those on different places to kind of mitigate risk.
CKG joined. Welcome.
Oh Yo, thanks for having me.
What's up, KG?
What's up, Toshi?
How you doing, brother?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, man. Good. What you been up to, bro? What's going on?
Just out there building the best onboarding tool in crypto. Nothing much.
Excellent. Let's hear about it, man.
Oh yeah? All right.
Well, before we get to KG, can we get Alex just to explain ICOSA like we're 5-year-old, especially me?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of forgot about that. The TLDR of it is you can effectively sell HSI stakes that you've made through Hedron. Like the first piece is you can sell those to the contract, and the contract will pay you in ICOSA, and that's determined by a rate based on like how much borrowable Hedron it has and like what the heck share rate is for the given day, stuff like that. But that's a avenue to obtain it. The other avenue is staking Hedron for it. There's some nuances about like minimum stake lengths that get enforced where you can always end early, but there'll be like a penalty to your premium. There's only one stake allowed per wallet, but you can add to it over time and like maintain your old, like effectively the share rate. You can maintain that and just keep adding to it. There's no maximum stake length, so end in 30 years or 50 years, I don't care. Then there's ICOSA staking, which basically is the same thing, except you get Hedron and ICOSA for that. And the last little bit is there's kind of like a sacrifice phase, kind of not. It's more like the Hex adoption amplifier than anything. But there'll be a list of currencies that's acceptable. They'll be published at some point. But you effectively buy a staking NFT from the contract, and you can transfer that, sell it, whatever you want. But it's going to accrue ICOSA over time. And it's kind of a game of chicken, right? The last man standing gets 100% of the yield from that pool. So who ends early because they can get some, more yield than they put in, who holds to the end, So it's going to be time locked. So a certain amount of people get in, the gate closes, and then no one else can enter. So as people end their stakes, everyone else's yield goes up. So and that's pretty much the gist of it.
That's interesting, bro. It's interesting.
Very interesting. So I have to check out the website. I apologize. It's been a crazy day. So I have it up on my computer, but I haven't had a chance to read through it yet. So, but looking forward to that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And real quick, guys, shout out to Hexacat, man. What's going on? Got Reese in the house. Haunted. What's happening, bro? Oh my goodness. Good to see you. Bullish is here. What's up? What is up? And who else did I miss here?
Got Naughty Panda, Redbird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a who's who tonight. Blue
We
Blob.
have Black
Thanks for joining.
Hexagon. We have
Yeah.
Black Hexagon. Yes, got to give her a shout out.
Yeah, shout out to everybody for making it out and joining us tonight.
Yeah. Good to
Everybody.
see you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. It's awesome. Hey, G,
So
let's hear about what's going on.
Sure. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. I always love talking about what we're doing, talking about PulseChain. So for those that don't know, we are building a native PulseChain wallet. And our whole mission as an ecosystem is to onboard new users into crypto through PulseChain. And we're doing that by building the cleanest, most user-friendly wallet that the crypto space knows. We are airdropping new users free Pulse, free IM, and we are the first wallet tokenizing its wallet fees. Holders of our native token will earn passive income in the form of a blockchain's native currency, whether that be on Pulse, Ethereum, BNB. I can dive more into that if you're interested, but that's the general overview.
And then I see recently you mentioned is your sacrifice for IMD done, or is there going to be an extension of that?
So we held one sacrifice. I apologize for the noise. One moment. We held one sacrifice for IMD on PulseChain, and that sacrifice went off amazingly. We set a cap of $1.2 million. We raised it in under 2 hours on live stream with Hextrovert and Triplet Dad. It was epic.
Epic.
Our second sacrifice that is coming up, the details aren't official yet, but it is going to be for IMD on multiple chains. And for those that don't know what IMD is, it is a token that represents the passive income that a holder can earn. Our wallet will charge fees when you swap from one asset to another within the wallet, like MetaMask, like other crypto wallets. Those fees will be charged in the form of the native coin on the blockchain you're transacting on. Those fees that the wallet accrues are then distributed to the holders of the IMD token. So if you hold IMD on Pulse, you get Pulse's passive income. If you hold IMD on ETH, you get ETH, and so on and so forth. Now, here's a really beautiful thing. No protocol like this exists in crypto. There's no delegating, there's no staking, there's no locking up required in any way, shape, or form. All you have to do is hold the IMD in a wallet you own the private keys to, and you're entitled to claim your passive income. So that's
this is interesting.
Yep.
So you could certainly go to PulseX and do your swaps and pay a fee and participate. Of course, a portion of that goes to the buy and burn and all that stuff that's going on with, the PulseX ecosystem. Or you could use your wallet, probably pay a similar fee, but those fees instead get fed to holders of the token.
Correct. And we will still more than likely be operating on top of the DEXs. So, for full clarity, our fee would be on top of the DEX fee.
It would be an additional fee.
Correct.
But the convenience of being able to do it right from the front of the wallet.
Exactly. And my favorite example to use there is people say, oh, well, why would anybody use your wallet when they could just connect to the DEX? Sure. But then I would respond to that with, well, people use MetaMask alone enough to generate $90,000 to $550,000 a day in fees. And that's only MetaMask. And that's not even with the untapped market of the new crypto user that we're targeting.
So there's something I've always wondered, and you probably know way more about this than I do because I've done zero research on this. But I've always wondered if there was the ability for someone who's built a wallet to have a smart contract that can multi-call multiple transactions that may or may not be related. How you order that, I don't know. There's probably a lot of work into that. But if there was an ability where you could say, hey, you can have your transaction go now, or you can wait like 5 minutes and we'll bundle a bunch of people's stuff together and throw it into one big multi-call to save on gas. Like, that would be really cool.
That's actually a very interesting concept. I don't have anything to report on it, but I like the idea of it.
Well, I'm definitely working on it enough that I'm not going to build a wallet. But if you can do anything with that idea, that would be super cool.
Yeah, it's almost like doing a batch send, but rather than one wallet doing all the sends, you're basically doing a batch send from a central location, pooling the funds and signing the transactions from all the individual wallets, kind of.
Yeah, it's really limited on how you can do a multi-call. Like, I've done zero research on this, but like Uniswap does it where, you know, you effectively tell the router, hey, I want to swap this for that, and then the router does like more transactions underneath, and you only sign one thing, but it gets all bundled into one transaction at the end. And if there's a way to bundle multiple signed transactions into one, but you would probably need a smart contract of some kind in between as an intermediary for that to work out. So it's going to get kind of complicated. So I'm not even sure if it's possible, honestly.
Yeah, if I'm not either, but if we ever did something like that, that would definitely be a down the road. Yeah, so, you know, our whole focus is, yes, you know, I said our whole focus is to onboard new users into crypto through PulseChain. That's a big part of what we're doing. But we're also going to have some awesome features within the wallet to engage and stay relevant to the people who enjoy using wallets to do regular swaps, because that regularly swap that way. Because that's a big part of the revenue generation for a wallet, right? Is people who trade on it. So we'll have cool features there as well.
Can I make a request or a suggestion?
Please do.
I said the same thing to Richard for his wallet, and you know how we all get these random scammy airdrops, right? Coins that if you were to interact with them, they would just drain your wallet in a heartbeat. I would love, because I'm a little bit anal retentive about keeping my wallet and things organized, I would love a way to sequester that stuff out of the way so I can't even touch it if I wasn't even paying attention, and kind of like lock it away from the other stuff. If there was a way to be able to take something in your wallet and kind of shunt it off to the side and have it kind of locked away where you couldn't even authorize to interact with it, that would be pretty cool. I don't know if that's possible, but that'd be nice.
No, that is a great idea. And that's something we've actually talked about a lot, because one thing that we want, or that's important to us, again, is every way a user interacts with our wallet, us, the dev team, is how can we make this action make the most sense? So one thing we're talking about is, hey, maybe there's a way to automatically display coins in the wallet. And okay, but then that brings up the risk you just described. What happens when there's some scam coin and someone's like, oh, hey, look at this awesome coin I have. I'm just going to trade it and get my free money. Well, ultimately, that would be bad. So we're working on a way to, again, make it easy and simple and organized, but also we don't want people to get wrecked. It does present some logistical issues, because it's like, how do you tell the software what is good and what is bad? How do you tell this, like, the software that, what do you tell it to reject effectively?
Could just do it like how MetaMask does it currently, where they only automatically have the blue chips show up on your wallet, and then the rest of the stuff in your wallet just doesn't exist to you unless you look on Etherscan. You can probably just do that, right?
Right, where if it's a blue chip token, you can then like type in the name and it may generate that token. But otherwise, you would have to physically go to Etherscan, get the contract address, and paste it in. I see that.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
is right. That's something we've discussed, and maybe we have some sort of application process where if a token wants to be considered, maybe they could be vetted that way to be added to the list. We could have, like, Xerion has a pretty cool feature where they have, Xerion's another wallet, where they have like verified cryptos, and they have an application process to be verified. So there are a few ways we could approach it.
What would be kind of interesting, perhaps, is, and I don't know if this is necessarily the right option, maybe there's another thing that comes out later that's better, but I know Victor has that Pulse hot list. If they exposed a token list and you like a wallet told you like, how safe is this, right? Because people have looked at it and said, oh, there's all these risks, and like the wallet could tell you, hey, you have this token and it's like rank 5 because it has all these admin keys or something. Like maybe that's cool, and like not necessarily saying it has to be Pulse Heartless, could be anything created for that purpose, but it's an interesting thought.
Sure. Again, all great ideas, and definitely something that is important to us because we understand that there's going to be a lot of people coming onto our wallet, into the ecosystem, and they're not going to know crypto very well. We do want to educate them. We do want to help them understand the ecosystem, but it's the newer people that tend to get wrecked more. And so it's all these things we're talking about, they come up in basically every discussion. How can we make it user friendly? How can we make it secure? And how can we make it so that the person who is, sorry about that, who is using this encounters the least amount of risk possible?
Okay, another really, really important question. KG, what kind of dog do you have?
Actually, isn't my dog. I just walked outside and my neighbor's dog barked.
Okay.
But I have a Basenji Shiba Inu mix.
Nice.
And
But more
one other,
seriously, if
go
you
ahead.
knew if you knew the extent or scale of what you were, of what you were building and the work required to get there, right? Because I'm sure, like these are the types of things that kind of blossom and bloom as you dig deeper and deeper into the details, right? And they kind of grow legs and become more and more and more as you know build out all the layers of detail that you need to build into creating a new wallet, right? If you knew what you knew today, would you have started this project?
Absolutely. I I am so thankful and grateful to have the opportunity to be the spear point of a movement that is so important, not only for the crypto space, but for the world. Crypto should be approachable to every human being who desires to interact with money in a way that they weren't indoctrinated with. I am honored to be able to provide, to be on a team who has the ability to provide the tools to help liberate my fellow human. I would choose yes every day.
Nice, buddy. Very cool.
And when you're doing this, KG, um, because you're developing an EVM chain with Pulse, and then you're going to do the EVM chain with ETH. Are there any other EVM chains on your roadmap?
Yes. So another cool thing that we're doing is, as at least from the get-go, the major chains will have preloaded into the app. So, okay, by the way, we're building an Android app, an iOS app, and a Chrome extension will be the platforms our wallet is on version 1. So from the get-go, users will be able to just switch between a few different EVMs. They won't have to enter in RPC settings, again, helping the new user. Now, of course, we'll still give users the ability to enter in custom RPC settings because there's some pretty obscure EVMs out there, let's be honest. But yes, we on the onset, we'll support a few major ones natively, with PulseChain being the one that's originally connected when users download, and then with the ability to enter in custom RPCs.
Is there going to be a Phantom or an Avalanche IMD sacrifice?
So as of right now, we are planning for this sacrifice to be the last sacrifice for IMD. And we're, again, these are not official details. We're just brainstorming still. We're still in that phase of it. But we know it's going to be for ETH and BNB, IMD. And then we're also thinking, hey, what are some other big chains that the community cares about? Maybe we add those, or maybe we say some portion of, if we launch IMD on future EVM chains, maybe those who participate in that sacrifice will get some credit of their sacrifice value on these future multi-chain IMD sacrifice. We're just not exactly sure outside of ETH and BNB and BSC which chains.
That's all great. One thing that I'm anxious that you come through with is the ability to connect hardware wallets into your software wallet. That's very important.
Absolutely.
I think you're working on that. I would like for Papa B, our resident security guy, to come on if he has an opportunity. He was here a second ago. And just remind everyone of the importance of hardware devices and maintaining your keys properly. Is he still in here?
Where's Papa B?
He probably briefly left because he's ringing me on Telegram. So I just hung up on him on Telegram and said, "Mate, you've been called to the spaces, so come back."
So to address that real quick, our Chrome extension and version 1 will absolutely have hardware wallet support. And one thing we're actually working on right now is, look, I know there's some controversy behind Bluetooth hardware wallets like the Ledger Nano X, but the analogy I like to use there is, okay, canned green beans are better than no green beans. So if we can give users the ability to even use a Bluetooth hardware wallet on the mobile app, that's a win, because it's an additional layer. So version 1 of the Chrome extension will have hardware wallet support. We're working on version 1 of the wallet to have it as well, or of the mobile app. Sorry.
What's interesting? What's interesting about the Bluetooth argument is you if you're in a crowded place and you've got a guy who's real smart, who knows how to hack Bluetooth, maybe he can grab that approval request out of thin air for you. What are you doing with crypto in the middle of Chicago, in a busy restaurant with your hardware device and a cell phone or a computer? Like, that's not the proper place to begin with. But your hardware, like, it still requires you to put your PIN number in. So, I mean, there's arguments both ways. Yes, like, your initial thought is Bluetooth is dangerous, but when you realize how the technology works, and then it still requires you to input a PIN number from your Ledger device, you realize, well, it's really not that risky. If I'm doing it in a safe place, in the comfort of my home or whatever, you're going to be just fine.
Right. And my personal setup is, I do personally use a Ledger Nano X. Well, I also have non-Bluetooth hardware wallets that I consider my vault. Those hang back in the most secure way possible, or at least I deem most secure way possible. And my Bluetooth Ledger Nano X, that's literally like cash in my pocket. So yeah, I like to dream that I'm going to run into somebody that I'm just going to be able to transact with crypto. So, I carry around my Bluetooth hardware wallet, and that's like my crypto on the go, so to speak. But I agree with you on that.
I hope you caught my little article, or I might have gone on stream a couple times, talked about it too. Hidden wallets. It's extremely important. It's really not complicated at all. You can do them with Trezor, kinda. It's kind of complex. Or excuse me, with Ledger, but it's super simple. And they design it so, like, it encourages you to use hidden wallets with Trezor. And I'll say, using all sorts of different hardware wallets, once you go to a Trezor, you will never, ever go back to anything else. Why would you want to use a hidden wallet? I don't want to like talk about this for an hour, but you have a seed phrase. You have to store that somewhere. If that's compromised, you're normally done for, right? Somebody takes your seed phrase, they stick it in a wallet, they drain your funds. But if you add another secret passphrase on top of that, and that secret passphrase is as long and as complex as you want it to be, or as short as you want it to be, when you type that in, it brings you to some hidden wallets. The only way to ever access those wallets is with that additional passphrase that you've created, and you can have unlimited of these. Why is that cool? Well, if your seed phrase is compromised, your stuff is literally still safe. If somebody could come in your house, steal your stuff, find your seed phrases, and then go and put that into their MetaMask, and there's nothing in there. They would also need to know what your secret passphrases are, which you can have stored elsewhere, or you can have them stored digitally, or
Use
they could
LastPass, right? Just that LastPass.
you can. Yep, there's methods to use LastPass, so then in the event of your death, your family can actually still request access, and there's a dead man protocol so that they can get your secret passphrases, so they can access your funds. Like this is super important, right? So you can pass funds down to your loved ones when you die, but also in the event of you being compromised or a gun to your head or something like that, it doesn't matter. Like your seed phrase will get stolen and your funds are still safe because you're the only one that knows the secret passphrase.
You know,
Every,
and I had a guy just real quick. So a friend of a friend he was in Mexico, and he was staying at some house, whatever, and the cleaners were coming or whatever, and he had his backpack, he had his ledger and his seed phrase and stuff at this place. He didn't want to leave it there. So he put everything in his backpack and just figured he'd just go out for a while and then just come back or whatever. And while he was out, somebody pulled the seagull shit maneuver on him, where a girl came up to him and was like, they threw something on him and they told him it was bird shit or seagull shit or whatever. And he was like, oh my God, but it wasn't, right? And the girl's helping him clean it off. He sets his bag down, and then her accomplice took off with his bag. It had his ledger, had his seed phrase.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it had everything in it. And now if he would have did what Jesse's talking about, he had another set of his seed phrase at home, like he would have been fine. If he had the secret wallet, he could have just went in and moved those tokens and stuff. But yeah, pretty crazy.
yeah, see, they stole his backpack, they got his seed phrases, they got his devices, and all they had to do was go home to their computer, load the seed phrase up, steal all his stuff. But if he had been using secret passphrases, and then he had another backup, at his parents' house or back home or whatever of his seed phrase, like who cares? Like the thief stole his backpack. I'm sure he'd freak out at first, but all he would have to do is get on a plane, go home, or acquire his seed phrase that he has backed up somewhere else, load that up into his own MetaMask with a treasure device. So he'd have to order another one or whatever. There are other ways to access hidden wallets without a treasure, but you might as well just order a new treasure. Type your secret phrase, and guess what? All your stuff is still there because those wallets attached to that hidden phrase are only accessible with that hidden phrase. He would have been fine. It's a super powerful tool. And in today's day and age, more and more people using crypto, more and more people talking about it openly all the time, and even doxing themselves and stuff. Like, it's super important. The last thing you want is to get robbed and have millions of dollars just stolen from you because you weren't using something as simple as the passphrase.
I've gone through that scenario a couple of times, Toshi, because I was on the phone with that guy. And the thing that I regret not telling him was he should have just opened up a new instance of MetaMask, put his seed phrase in, and transferred everything someplace else.
Right. Is that now? Does that are the guys still doing it? Was it the How to Pulse guys that had the bot that was hovering over the wallet in case?
Yeah, they're doing one, and also the gentleman who runs the PRC PulseChain altcoins room has one as well. So there's two services. If you have compromised your wallet, basically they will both do a similar type of service to where they'll run a bot that will just scrape things out as soon as it hits the wallet, so you can get your airdrops from PulseChain and things. But if I understand them, they're both very invasive. You have to KYC, you have to prove who you are. You pay a good fee, a hefty fee on that for the service. So it's got to be worth the effort to go through and recover all of that. The best thing is just not to be compromised in the first place, to remain safe. I think Miner had his hand up earlier. Miner, do you still have a question?
It was sort of related to that soul-bound token and identity, to the new format of sort of tokens hitting the market. It was just pertaining to that. I was just wondering, like, I was just wanting more clarity on potential use cases of soul-bound token, and and how it could be integrated with security and stuff. But I'm more than willing to just hear people out. There's so much good stuff floating around in this chat. I'm more than willing to just hear it out.
Touching back on that secret passphrase stuff, I used to have a Bitcoin wallet called Samurai back in the day that had a BIP39 passphrase attached to the seed words. So, if you loaded up if you inserted the seed words into the wallet without the passphrase, it would just show a zero balance, and you wouldn't know if you didn't enter the password correctly or not. If you were just some random user and you found these words here, unless you typed in the secret passphrase, and then then it would access your true wallet. I don't even know if you can do that on Ethereum or not, but I know that's definitely possible on Bitcoin because I used to have that personally. So.
One tip that it's kind of an obfuscation trick, but something I do. I don't know if anyone else does it, but when you plug a hardware wallet and connect it into MetaMask, right? It will allow you, like, if you have your seed phrase, which derives your private key, but you can have thousands of public keys tied to that, which are addresses. If you skip the first 10, so you let the first one kind of just be your doing whatever hot wallet, and then you do skip the next 10 and then use one, any scan tool that they use to scan for funds won't show that one because it only checks the next 10 wallets. And if they all show up blank, it just assumes all of them after that are blank because it would take years to go through all of them.
So Dylan, I see you joined. What's going up in fiat land? I think you guys recently announced a new second project. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're doing some things in the background, but they aren't explicitly ready to be brought completely public yet. But essentially, we're making a wallet, and then there's some perpetual trading platform that we're doing. So, when it's ready, you'll see it on testnet, and you'll be able to play with it, and then we'll start talking about it. But yeah, and then in regards to fiat, we just launched the staking portion, so you can try that on a testnet. If you have some PH SAC coins, you can go stake those and earn some of the fees that are being generated right now on testnet. Pretty cool. But yeah, we're going to be doing a wallet that kind of like Xeron, I guess, right? But for Pulse. So, but yeah, that's the gist.
The more we see on PulseChain, the better, right? The more things
Of course.
for people to use, the more tools that are available, and the more tools that are, more. How do I put this judiciously? You want the tools that the whales like to use on Ethereum to be there on PulseChain to help encourage them to adopt something new, right? And these are all things that help drive adoption and get us volume that we want.
Yeah, man, the more bells and whistles, the better. We should be very concerned if there wasn't all of this stuff being built. That kind of suggests that, Pulse Chain is weak because there's nobody building on it, right? So yeah, I definitely agree, right? The more stuff we have built, the better. The more choices, the more of a competitive market, probably going to be very advantageous for everybody. So, and there's plenty of opportunity out there. So, if you have an idea, somebody's already built it on ETH, fucking get it going on Pulse Chain, and probably do it better than the other people did on Ethereum, or just have the strong user base starting off in Pulse. So if those people do come over, you have the first movers advantage and stuff.
Well, like I was saying before, the opportunity that we have to build these things with the community in mind first, right? Not the VCs and not the angel investors and other things that you see in other places. This is the community building everything up around this chain that they got involved in very, very early, right? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to build something by the community for the community, right? To help drive that adoption. You've never seen this before, and how many teams have stood up out of the early Pulse Chain and Hex Telegram chat participants and the YouTube streamers and everything. Everyone's getting involved. It's awesome, right? This community is mobilizing.
Blue Bone, are you coming on to talk? I want to hear your thoughts. I always like what you have to say in Discord Syndicate. So, if you're willing to talk, what are your thoughts on the entire ecosystem that's getting bigger by the day?
Real quick, I will say anyone who's fighting Pulse Chain because they don't know anything about it and they think it's going to be just a dead chain with a bunch of copies is probably, no matter what Pulse does at this point, is going to be sorely mistaken. Oh, and Blue just DM'd me and said he's on his laptop, so he can't talk on Spaces.
The copies are interesting, right? Because they should get people's attention to come over and at least play around with their free copies. But I do think a lot of them will go to zero, but that's not a reason that the chain is dead. No other chain has ever launched with so many tools like on day one or close to day one, right? You've got, out of all these other chains, if you go look at them, they launched with nothing, and then they had oracles, and then a stable coin, and then a swapping platform, of course, early on, and then they had to build from the ground up. And what you're going to see with Pulse Chain is a whole bunch of free copies, and who knows what will happen to those. A lot of them will just get dumped, okay? But that's fine. And a lot of that value is going to transfer back into the Richard Hart ecosystem of protocols. And I think a lot of the adoption for the people who come to play around with their free copies, like the thing that's going to keep those people around is similar protocols that our communities built that they were using over on whatever chain they came from, or from Ethereum chain. right? So they have, they have the gambling stuff, they have the NFT stuff, they have the nodes, of course, Hex. We already have the Hex community. Like, everyone's already here. But you've got to have all of the stuff that these other chains have if you want to keep these people around. And we have the luxury of Richard delaying. It just keeps getting delayed and delayed. By the time we launch, there are going to be dozens and dozens and dozens of protocols that launch on day one. And to think that people are just going to come, dump their tokens, and then leave and not poke around and start playing with all this stuff, you're out of your mind. Like, we have a severe advantage over the other chains and how they launched.
Well, and what's interesting, so like, I also agree that probably the vast majority of the copied tokens probably either do nothing or go to zero. But the interesting thing to me is, it's like the free copies is a fantastic marketing thing to Pulse. What I try to do occasionally is I'll go in, because like a lot of these other projects on ETH that are notable also run Twitter Spaces sometimes. So I'll hop in there and, I usually get kicked out, but I'll try to go and say, hey, if you care about your coin and you care about your community and you don't want it to go to zero on Pulse Chain, you guys should probably be thinking about trying to at least support it somewhat, or at least commit to saying that you will do it if it makes sense.
I I used to do that before. I think Pulse was really starting to get popular, and I'm banned from a lot of those chats. I think it's probably a little bit more lax now, but yeah, I think I might have done that a little too early myself, or I might just have to make an alt account or something.
Yeah, I mean, I still get kicked out of them occasionally, but usually it'll turn into like, a Richard Hart argument, right? It's never about the technicalities of the chain itself.
Every time. Every time.
And that was my issue with all these people who were having a fit over Richard Hart's current marketing. They forget that we are the ones who need to get out there and market and promote and educate, right? We should not be relying on one man to do all that work for us. This is our chain, right? I mean, he's building it. Yes, we are using it. We sacrifice for it. We all have a vested interest in its success. We're the ones who need to take ownership of that and go out there and try to educate people, right? And just relying on him and his personality, whether it's a pro or a con, relying on his reputation, whether it's a pro or a con, we can't use that as a crutch, right? And, doing our best to try to drive it to the technical discussion, having the chain stand on its own merits based on its design and implementation, right? And part of that might be impossible until it's actually up and running and proven with people using it, with real live crypto projects launching on it, right? That might be the point where people actually want to start listening to us. So having all these teams here in this chat and in the community that are building new projects, new things to run on Pulse Chain, specifically to promote Pulse Chain, to bring new users to Pulse Chain, right? They're the ones pumping everyone else's bags. We all need to get behind it and get out there and educate and participate. I tried to ask Black Hexagon to come up and speak. She's working with the Crypto Sparbook guys and on a new Million Pulse tour, right? Another tour throughout the states to educate people and go to college campuses and cities all around the country to educate people on Pulse Chain and the opportunity that they have in front of them. It's huge, right? We need more of that, and I love to see it.
What I kind of expect to happen, I'll use Aave as an example because of fiat. I think there's very little chance that Aave directly supports Pulse Chain, if not a 0% chance. So if I was an Aave developer or primary, whoever the creator is, whatever their structure is, And I found out someone forked my protocol onto this chain that I decided I wasn't going to support or I didn't know about, and it became incredibly successful. I'd be incredibly salty about that. And like there's probably going to be a few events like that where things get forked and they become successful on Pulse Chain, and then all the other projects hear about that happened, and they're like, oh well, I don't want that to happen to us. I want it to be successful on both. So, and then it'll kind of be like a wave, is my estimation.
I mean, that's why it's important to evolve these products too, not just simply fork them, right? You want to make these things better. So, I mean, anyone can just fork them over to Pulse Chain, but like you said, if that's going to happen, then if a DAO does well, and Olympus wants to come over and try to do its thing there, they can, or an Aave, they can do the same thing. But if you make some changes and you improve the code and you add some functions that aren't there before, well then you're setting the new bar, and then you'll have people forking your projects.
It's kind of funny because that is so incredibly easy to do, because most of these projects either have really strong biases that are ultimately bad tokenomics, or just bad components entirely, and they've existed long enough that we know why those are bad and how they can be changed.
That's true. We can learn from the challenges and the growing pains that they went through and find ways to improve upon that, right? So it gives us the luxury of hindsight to be able to say, okay, if we do this, how can we do it better, right? If we were to do this on, but you have cheaper fees, or you have faster block times, or, whatever, how would you change it? How would you adjust it? What would you make changes to? And it kind of takes the shackles off in a lot of ways, right?
Hey, I just wanted to jump in real quick. I have to get running. Sorry to interrupt the conversation, but I just wanted to thank everybody for allowing me the opportunity to speak on the awesome things we're building. And everyone in this chat who is building, thank you, because this chain cannot succeed without your dev teams, without your marketing, without your economic energy. Pulse Chain has no choice but to succeed if we as a community keep this up. So thank you, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank
It
you.
was good to have you, KG.
Have a good night, brother.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks, KG. Have a good night, bud.
Yep, y'all as well. Jesse, thanks for the invite, man.
Yep.
Pulsar guys, did you have a question? I saw you came up as speaker.
Yeah, man. I was just going to touch briefly on something I saw this morning. But yeah, I think PulseChain is the only layer one gaining even remotely this much pre-mainnet adoption. I think it has more pre-mainnet adoption than any other layer one that's launched thus far. But Crypto Heartbeat did an interview with Jack Levin yesterday, I think. Did anybody see that?
Not yet, no.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, he was one of the original founders of Google. That kind of endorsement, yeah, shouldn't be taken lightly, especially at a time like this, right? Richard's marketing, there's no more Pulse Chain updates. There's like a certain degree of uncertainty, but to have, a player like that, not only invested in Hex, but in the ecosystem, at this point in time, I think speaks volumes.
Yeah, any kind of legitimacy that we can build through either building trust or building bridges and relationships with others in industry, sure, right?
Jack Levin. I just learned about him the other day. I was shocked when I was going through my Twitter and Jack Levin had followed me, actually. And I was like, wow, well, that's a pretty big endorsement. But he supports the chain. When you have big guys as smart as him who have taken notice of PulseChain, like that speaks volumes for what we have going on. And you know what makes things do well? It's not just like the underlying code of all this stuff. You can have great code and your thing goes to zero. You could have horrible code and your thing goes to the moon. But when you have a combination of both a good community and good code and like all of us who are holding each other accountable, that's when you have like a chain that's seen better success than any other chain that's ever lived.
Case in point, Luna, if it wasn't poorly designed.
Yeah, a lot of people, tried to warn others, about that poor design. It didn't matter. The community was too strong. They didn't care.
Speaking of code, is there any other layer ones that are being developed with, or that have in the past been developed with Golang?
If I understand it correctly, this is the first team to convert this specific part of like validator rotation to Golang. So of any other chain that has tried to fork off, Ethereum, there's several like layer twos, whatever, that forked Ethereum and made tweaks to it. This is the first team to do that, I think.
I think many people are going to be very surprised at the not only adoption but the institutional support from day one. Couldn't get into the sacrifice. First time sacrifice has been used like this. First time Go is being used like this. I think we're going to be very surprised with the amount of buying power that's going to be behind this thing.
I mean,
I
if it
wouldn't be
does what it
surprised.
says.
I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some bigger players come out of the woodwork and start talking about this stuff. That usually probably are a little bit more on the quiet side in terms of crypto related stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's going
I think
mainstream. Going mainstream for sure.
yeah, the Google guy is probably one of the first people I think that we've noticed perhaps that is starting to talk about this stuff. So obviously he was early with the internet stuff and the search engines and whatnot. So perhaps we could start seeing that trend.
Yeah, just think about it. Smart money knows it's coming. Yeah, smart money knows it's coming. Yeah, exactly. So this is like getting into Ethereum, literally day one. This is literally time travel. And they see it, they get it, and it's potentially better than Ethereum, right? So they see this as time travel, and I think the smart money knows it. And the VC markets has not been able to. They were not able to get into the sacrifice. They just weren't allowed to. They couldn't do it. So maybe they did. Some people did personally, but not on a corporate institutional level. And I think they're just seeing it. They're going to see it, unfold in front of their eyes right from the beginning, and we're going to see it unfold in front of our eyes right from the beginning, in a way that I don't think even Ethereum, nothing saw. AVAX, Solana, none of them, right? Because those were ICOs, right? Those were more official, where you can get the institutional to get in. The VCs were in those initial offerings and made their 2000x from day one and then sold. We're not getting that.
Jexa just showed up. He's one of the smartest guys in the community.
What's up, Jexa? Is he coming up here?
Just invited him to speak. Well, he's joining. We really appreciate everyone joining us tonight. It's been an awesome conversation about a lot of things, and this is, extremely educational for me, and hopefully for everyone else about what's coming to PulseChain, what everyone's building, and where it's going, right, and the opportunity we have in front of ourselves. If this was the message that was being spoken out on the mainstream media and the mainstream crypto media, what do you think the reactions of the world would be, right? If they only knew, if they only knew. So when they do find out, I can only imagine what the reaction is going to be.
It's interesting to see how many protocols keep popping up. It seems like every other day there's something new that you hear about, some idea somebody had. With the delays of PulseChain, these people now have time to actually build this different stuff that they always dreamed of having one day on a chain. If we don't launch till, who knows when we'll launch? Maybe it'll be next month. Maybe it'll be early next year or something. But it's literally like every couple of days there's something new that we hear about that's launching on the chain. And that's not going to stop when the chain launches, on launch day. That's going to continue on over and over again. Some of the same protocols are going to build, new protocols, better things, version 2s. And this is just going to snowball and start compounding. And it's really neat to see, the Hexagon community making up 98% of all this stuff that's being built.
I picture I could just imagine once the documentary is released, and dude, if that thing gets on Netflix, it's over. There's gonna be a massive influx of users, and I think it is going to be good. I heard what was it last night? I think we were in a room with I think it was CZ's room, and Rackham was in there. A couple other guys were in there. I think RG3 was in there. They were talking about the documentary. They said it's like crazy. I guess the director's he's just insane. He's really good, and there's really funny parts, really sad parts. It just takes you on an emotional roller coaster, and they just said there's no other documentary like this. So I can imagine this thing on Netflix, and just blowing up, and just a massive influx of users just piling into PulseChain. I could see that.
Yeah, he said we're going to all see a side of Richard that we've never seen before.
Right. That's interesting too.
I think it's part of the plan, right? We'll see, but I'll get into that later. Katie, what's going on? I see your hands up.
Katie.
Hey guys. Thank you for all your perspectives and that on everything at the moment. But I just have one question for Jesse. Have you named your toad?
Yeah, so there's
Hercules.
Yeah, there's a giant. Okay, I built this pond a couple years ago, and these frogs just appeared like a week later. I'm nowhere near water, but I filled this thing up with water, and 2 days later, frogs appeared out of nowhere. And there was this tiny little frog that's probably 6 years old now, and it's the size of a baseball cap. It's just grown throughout the years, and his name is Hercules. And he's
Hercules.
There's there's another big one. I forget the name of the other one. Actually, I think my wife named it Luna, which is funny. It's kind of ironic, but they have babies every year, and then some of them survive or whatever. This ridiculous noise you hear on the background is a tiny frog that's probably the size of a quarter, but it's really loud.
Hercules?
No, that's not even Hercules. He's big enough to sound like a freaking dog.
Your pond is now like a frog sanctuary, huh?
It is, yep.
Yeah, we have some open slots if anybody else wants to chat.
Haunted finally fit into the room.
Yep. One thing I'll say is I've been in a lot of
Hi there.
crypto
Thanks for taking my question.
Communities over the years, and like one thing special about the Hex community, even if it may be kind of cultish, we just have a ton of incredibly smart people. Something about Hex seems to attract very smart people. You go in most of these things and it's just a bunch of people spamming when moon. No one's doing anything. And here we are. It's like, oh, PulseChain's delayed. What do? Oh, we all just go build even more stuff.
Definitely takes your mind off the market, right?
That is true.
Well, we've all been shielded.
I don't see your whole name, Geordie.
Yeah. Thanks for taking my question. I was just wondering what you thought about Richard Hart's involvement with PulseChain and the protocols that choose to build on it. Whether, like, obviously now he's the face of it, and to what extent will he, be the face of other developers' protocols, and will he have to, bear the brunt of failure or claim success as a result of his, proximity to his program, or to to the chain rather. And
No.
if
You don't own Hex, do you?
Pardon me?
You don't own Hex, do you?
No, I have Hex.
He keeps himself distance from third-party protocols. Now, he doesn't speak about anything other than his own stuff. There's a few exceptions to that.
I'm just wondering if people will associate other people's stuff as his stuff, and how he will manage to walk that line of distancing himself from, potential issues that aren't his own doing. I don't know. It's more interesting to watch.
The same way Vitalik does, or if you were a blockchain founder, there's going to be thousands of things on your chain.
Because right now, just as a casual, I have interest. I've sacrificed and I have Hex, but it's when something comes up and I see, it's a project, being built on PulseChain. I'm like, I immediately assume, Richard Hart has something to do with it. But I guess a lot of the time that's just not the case.
It is 99.99% the case, right? I think the only thing that Richard Hart's building on top of PulseChain is PulseX right now.
Right.
And then there'll be other things in the future. I think it's those teams that are creating things. It's our responsibility to be very open that, we are not endorsed in any way whatsoever by Richard Hart, nor should we have to be, because there's no reason that he needs to endorse something that he had nothing to do with building, right? Yeah. And therefore should shoulder no responsibility on the work of others, right? There's no expectations on the work of others, on profit from the work of others. Well, this is the same thing here. And we have to work hard to build our communities and to build our reputations and to prove ourselves with what we actually deploy on the blockchain. And I think that's what we have to look at, not necessarily whether or not Richard is giving something a thumbs up or not, because I highly doubt there is anything that he doesn't build that he would overtly, specifically call out, right? He's given a couple of things, a little nod, right? A little tip of the hat indirectly, but I don't think he'll ever come out and say, Joe Schmo coin is number one. Everybody go get into that because Joe Schmo coin is awesome, right? He's never going to say that.
He has his own NFTs, doesn't he, on like Pulse Doge or something? They're pretty hilarious, I think, or something like that.
He doesn't own that.
No,
Like that's not his protocol by any means.
No, yeah, they're just like pictures of him or something. But the PowerCity, I guess, is separate, obviously. But yeah, I sacrificed for PowerCity. Super excited about that. It looks amazing. All the work you guys have done. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
You know, he'll never endorse all this other stuff. But what's interesting is you may see that he uses some of this stuff. You actually saw a good example of that with Hedron when you saw some OA wallets that interacted with Hedron, minted some tokens, created some liquidity pools and stuff. But then, like around that same time period, somebody asked his opinion of it on YouTube, and he just deflected.
Yeah,
you know. So
as he should.
If anyone
on
can
both
handle
sides.
it, I'm sure he can. Like,
I mean, it makes sense that the OA and him, or both of them, or him, whatever, participates and supports the protocols that they like and that they see as a benefit to the ecosystem. He's just participating in his own, supporting his own ecosystem in the right projects. That's good. But I'm glad he's not talking about it.
yeah, well, there's just so much stoke around all the projects. Honestly, it's exciting.
I think the only other thing he'll talk about is his wallet.
And then eventually the stable coin, and then eventually the fiat on or off ramp, and then eventually, right? He has if I remember, it was August 14th last year, he tweeted out his wish list. I remember because I think it was searched for like 3 times.
Yep, that's right.
And it was a very long list of very ambitious, large scale projects. But, thankfully, he's got the funding to go do it now and actually make it a reality. So this is going to be like one of those rare situations where you're going to have a full stack made by PulseChain for PulseChain. Everything you need to do crypto, not having to go outside of PulseChain if you didn't want to, or didn't have to have the ability to from a legal perspective.
At the same time, you've also seen him on occasion say, "It looks like other community members are already building that. I might not have to." Right. So one example, I remember him talking about potentially building an NFT platform someday, even though he hates NFTs. He may find that there's 6 or 7 or 10 or 15 different NFT platforms already. It just doesn't make sense when his community's already built these things.
Yeah,
Right.
same thing with an on-ramp.
Yeah, if there's already 1 or 2 or 5 different on-ramps, like his goal is not to like undermine his own community. If the stuff that's built works and is beautiful and everyone's using it, that's all benefiting the chain, he may just say, look what my community's done. This is a beautiful chain that's working.
I think it was chess for him. I think he put that list out there knowing that everyone would start building what he put the list out for.
Well, it's a bit cheaper that way.
Well, builders still benefit from the Ethereum benefits, do they not?
It makes more sense because it can get done faster. It can get done in better timing. It can get done simultaneously instead of him just, 1 by 1 knocking them out or 2 by 2 knocking them out. He knows there's a huge family of tremendously smart individuals that are getting together, that are building here. So why not put out the list and say, hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. And then everyone just naturally is just going to start doing it. He knows it.
I mean, Hex has to be a big winner because people are going to be able to use it more as a currency, in exchange without the, the ERC20 fees, gas fees. It's got to be good for Hex, I would think.
I'm not sure. I mean, believe me, I love Hex, right? And the team I'm on, we're building a protocol to support Hex, right? As are many others. So, I mean, there's a lot of folks who, we're here because of Hex. Don't get me wrong, right? But as far as that becoming some, major currency and, used for things other than its original intention on PulseChain, I'm not sure. I mean, it does something very well. Does it need to be everything? Probably not. There's a lot of other projects that are being launched on PulseChain that probably will do what you're describing better and more efficiently. So Hex, the whole point is you stake it, you earn inflation, right? And you lock that value away for your future self to be able to reap those rewards down the road. I mean, that's kind of the point of it, right?
That makes total sense. Yeah, thank you.
You'd probably be better off using a stable coin to transact with other people. The whole point of Hex is decrease the velocity of the money, right? So
at what point do you drop the word stable there and avoid the comparisons?
What do you mean?
I mean, if it's an algorithmic stable coin or one that's actually pegged or whatever, I mean, whenever I read stablecoin, I'm just like, oh my god, Doquan, I'm like, Terra Luna, like you immediately draw that connection when you hear the word stablecoin, like in my opinion. I was wondering if maybe
I mean that's a totally different argument, right? I'm just saying in general, if you want to
functionality,
transmit value, yeah, exactly. If you want to, transmit value and relatively speaking, keep the peg, you're better off using something that is agreed upon at a certain value, and it kind of sits around there, right, to transact, rather than an asset that has wild fluctuations in price or something like that.
Yeah, of course. Just drop that word. Get rid of that terrible word.
It's just the reality of the product, right? You want something pegged to a value, so you have a consistent value that can be traded, right? What we've seen in Terra and Luna and others is just an example of a poorly designed product, but I don't think it should cast every algorithmic stablecoin in an evil light. An algorithmic stablecoin is like the ultimate solution of not having to have a physical dollar in a bank backing every stablecoin that is issued like USDC does. Why is that important? Because if we're ever going to solve the idea of a CBDC or something similar where you have a official sanctioned or issued stable coin, whether it's just for banks to trade with other banks or something else, right? You need to have something that can be an algorithmic coin. We're no longer on a gold standard, right? So even our physical dollars are algorithmic stable coins of sorts because they just print the hell out of it whenever they want more out there, right? And we're just trying to create a similar version of that on a blockchain that can be immutable, but also retain its value, right? So that you have a stable, stable currency that you can, be able to transfer value from one place to another without having to worry about, massive price fluctuation. So we will eventually crack that, problem where you don't have to go the USDC route, right? But until then, we're probably going to have to find a lot of bad ways to do it to figure out the right way to do it, right? It's like Edison talking about the light bulb.
Yeah, Jesse wants to talk about the algorithmic stablecoin backed by gold. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, man.
Yeah, so I just want to touch base and let everyone know why Luna failed, why UST failed, and you could see it. Like, I knew it was going to fail long ago. There's others that will fail in time. USDD would be one of them. Would be another. They call themselves algorithmic, but there's weird stuff that goes on in the background. So here's what ends up happening. Like, for any stablecoin to be stable, it has to be redeemable. It has to be fully backed, fully redeemable for $1 worth of something. And that $1 worth of something could be ETH in the case of DAI, right? With the Maker protocol. That will last for a long time, right? It'll last forever, right? It's always, the collateral's always there. You have to put up more collateral into the Maker protocol to be able to mint some DAI. The protocol Liquidity or Liquid Loans, they do a similar function where there's always the the backing, the collateral there at all times. But what happened with Luna was people would mint UST. You had a founder that would purchase Bitcoin, and like lots and lots of Bitcoin, right? Speculating, being a trader, thinking Bitcoin was going to go up in value, and then telling the community that the UST protocol held Bitcoin as reserves backing UST, which kind of doesn't make any sense because it's on a completely different blockchain. You can't in code have backing where if there happens to be a liquidation, it takes the UST, it burns it, and then it like gives Bitcoin to people. It doesn't even work. It's on a completely separate chain. But you combine that with like this weird mechanism where everyone can go and they could yield and mint out of thin air UST across a number of different protocols that wasn't backed by anything at all. And what you ended up with was a huge fractional reserve problem. You had magnitudes more UST in circulation than the market cap of any of the actual backing that could be redeemed for. Now, the way a redemption works, it is the thing. A redemption mechanism is the exact thing that keeps something pegged to $1. Here's the easiest example. If you went right now and you market sold, $5 million worth of USDC into any liquidity pool, you're going to have a lot of slippage, and you're going to move the price of that USDC down. That's the slippage amount is what you just move the price of the USDC. So if you have 10% slippage, you just created 90% USDC in that pool. You took some slippage, you took some loss there, but somebody has to come behind you and they have to buy that USDC back up. And the only reason that anybody would ever do that is if someone else, they can take that cheap USDC that they buy and go get $1 worth of something else for it. So with USDC, it's quite simple. You send it to Coinbase, they give you $1 of fiat for each USDC. It doesn't matter if you paid 90 cents for it, 75 cents for it, 50 cents for it. You help buy the price back up to where it was supposed to be because you know that you're going to get $1 of fiat back by Coinbase for it. Okay, that's the redemption mechanism for Circle. In the Maker protocol with DAI, it's similar. When DAI comes off its peg, just because people are dumping it or whatever, other people come behind and they buy it up. And they bring the price right back to $1 because they can immediately go back into the Maker protocol and in code be given $1 worth of ETH for that. And they can even lock those profits in by circling it back around and putting it into some other stable coin or sending the ETH to Coinbase and just cashing out. They had a quick gain, because all they were was an arbitrager. They had a quick profit right there. They helped peg the price back. You see the same thing with liquid loans here soon on PulseChain, but then Luna didn't have that. There was so much UST in circulation, and there was no place to arb to get a redemption for all of those coins. Furthermore, since so much of that backing had actually been converted and was held as Bitcoin, you had this founder who was in a struggle in a huge dilemma. Bitcoin was circling the drain at the moment. So the collateral was getting less and less and less. And the only way that he could have tried to save the peg is if he had sold the Bitcoin, which would have further cascaded the problem, and then brought that back into the proper chain, and then added that back to the Luna collateral. And it was just an impossible scenario because the market cap was just way out of whack. So the arbitrageurs looked at this UST that came off peg. They saw it drop to 95 cents and 92 cents and cheaper. And they said, there is no way I'm buying that. Because if you bought that cheap UST, you had no place to send it to get $1 worth of something. And instead, of buying the price up, they said, shit, I better sell the rest of it before it goes to zero. And that's when it falls off the cliff. And in just a matter of a day or 2 days, it literally went from in the 90 cents to zero because everybody realized that and they just dumped out of it. That was Luna. That was guaranteed to happen eventually. It will happen with other faulty mechanisms, but there are, quote, algorithmic stable coins that do not operate the same way and always have the backing in place so that ARB is there. I hope that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I think it would be a great opportunity then for Richard Hart to sort of create a new image for that, the stable coin peg that you described, and kind of separate himself from, or separate Pulse and create a new identity for that sort of protocol. Kind of cool.
Hey Jesse, why do you think that when Bitcoin's dumping, and then you had a whole, when the Luna thing was happening also, all the stable coins were having a hard time holding their peg, but LUSDs were at $1.04.
I know, it's beautiful. Because people realized how stable it was. It's very simple. People realized how stable it was. It can't come off peg for very long because the ARB is always there. And people were literally willing to pay a premium to convert from whatever they were holding and get into LUSD because of how stable it was. People were willing to pay $1.04 for a stable coin just so they can have that protection.
Also,
we have another instance of that though with Teddy Cash, right? I'm surprised their website's still up. But I think yesterday their stable coin was $1.15, but they only have 2 troves left in that whole protocol. 2. And the one guy's got like 150% collateral, but he's the low guy on the totem pole, and his money keeps getting eaten up. Why do you think that freaking stable coin's at $1.15 when there's only 2 troves?
Because it's over collateralized.
Opportunity and it's
you're going full robot mode.
Jesse, you're getting rugged. You're getting rugged, man. You're getting rugged.
Okay, so you could go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's quite simple. You can actually reverse ARB. You just go and buy the native gas coin out of the liquidity pool, and then you ARB that into a different liquidity pool. So you go buy that AVAX or which chain was it? AVAX chain? I can't even remember anymore.
AVAX.
Yeah. You could just go scoop up some of that AVAX out of that liquidity pool where it's paired to the Teddy dollar, and you and then just sell that back into a different AVAX pool, and you'll bring the peg back to $1.
Yeah, that protocol's rough.
Also, there was a Ponzi attached to the Luna stablecoin as well, where they were printing UST at a 20% APY. No matter how much you had or the conditions of the market, they were always giving you a 20% return in the UST stablecoin. So it inflated without having a backing attached to it. So that also kind of caused the fractional reserve that they ended up having as well.
Well, real quick, one thing I wanted to add to the UST thing, because a lot of the people who are in Luna don't fully understand what happened, but there actually was a redemption mechanism where you could redeem UST that was depegged for Luna.
But what had happened was some group of extremely rich people, giant whales, they went in and actually opened a short position on Luna, a gigantic one. And then they used about $1 billion worth of tokens to depeg UST. And then in that craze where it's depegged, they bought tons of UST and redeemed it for Luna, pushing the Luna price down. And as the price goes down, if you redeem UST for Luna, because you always get $1 worth of Luna, you just get more Luna. So it went from like a 400 million token supply to like 7 billion in like less than a day. And they just self-filled their own short position and left with almost the entire market cap of that coin in profit.
That's rough. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I read that as well. Vinluck, you've had your hand up for a while, man.
So yesterday I brought up when we were in the room with Rack, something I've been kind of working on with stablecoins, and I got access to it. If we back it by gold, if you create an algorithm that adds and removes gold based on the demand and the volume, then we possibly have something that could remove our fiat issue. Because even if we're taking profits and we're going to be in a stable, a USDC or T, it's still a fiat. And I think the whole purpose of where we need to go in the future is creating a stable coin that's, puts us back on the gold standard. Obviously it's going to be complicated. I'm not talking about an index gold coin that follows gold. I'm talking about creating a proper pegged, gold-backed stablecoin that just hasn't removed gold based on a smart contract and an algorithm. Paxos does it now, but not on a stablecoin, just on a regular, index gold coin, and it's an instant, immediate transaction based on LBMA hallmark gold, right? Just like you can buy and sell in London on the regular markets. You're just doing it using the blockchain. So I've got access to the gold to do it. I'm getting on with some pretty high-end devs that want to talk about the concept and try to build it. I think it's possible. I mean, my first freaking gig was gold in 2008. I'm an economist, and I focus on money and banking my whole life, and I got these kind of connections. So I think there's a way to do it. It's going to take a lot of work, but I would certainly much rather, when I take profits, not keep it in a fiat. Because if we're still in $1, even though it's stable, it's not really, it depends on where you are and what's going on, because you're still going to be subject to the fiat issues of the world, whether you're in Europe or America or wherever you are. But gold has been money since the beginning of money, and we all know it. It's still considered money, even though it's not used as money. So there's something there.
So, have you heard of AABB? Look up that ticker symbol if you don't know it already.
No, I don't.
Yeah, AABB. Just check that out. Look into that a little bit.
It's a penny stock, right? Is that a penny stock?
It's gold-backed crypto. It's an idea. It's gold-backed crypto. It's starting out that way, right?
It's an asset. So gold is just backing the token.
They were talking about what you were talking about. They have their own mines, the whole 9 yards, right?
Right.
Just check. Just look into it. Look into it.
Okay.
It is a pink sheet, right? I think.
Is it a pink sheet? Is it on the? Is it in the equity markets, or is it a crypto? Is it a blockchain?
No, this is over the counter.
And they want to do what? Yes, I was a stockbroker since '96. I know what over the counter is.
Okay, yeah, it's over the counter. It's just a penny stock, and it's AABB is the ticker. It's just gold-backed. It's gold-backed crypto is the whole idea. They've been around for a second.
So they're going to take an equity. They're going to somehow merge from the equities market, and they're going to create. I mean, they already have their.
They have their own wallet. They have their own wallet. They have their own token. They have their own wallet. They have their own token. You got to check it out. It's interesting.
AABA?
No, AABB.
AABB. But it's still a token. It's been a company that's been tokenized that's just backed by gold, and what they're doing is buying. You can just buy gold through them, like Paxos, right? Is it kind of like Paxos in essence?
Seems like Paxos. It seems similar to that, right?
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to have something. I mean, we can do an index token that moves, simultaneously with the price of gold. That's all fine. Paxos is there. There's a couple others that are there. Kinesis is there. They've got a Visa card already. I want to create a stable coin that's backed by gold where the algorithm just automatically buys and sells based on the volume. So, if you got $100 million in purchasing of the stable coin, you got maybe a reserve of 2 to 1, where you got, 2 to 1 gold sitting there. So you always know you got 2 to 1. And if I got, billions of dollars in proven, like I got 43 101s in gold right now, right? I can mine in the next 60 days about $50 million in gold. Literally 2 meters under, not even deep, no big mines, no nothing. And then I can just go from there. I got obviously the big mines and the big stuff, but I've got real stuff. These are Barrick and Newmont spent $30 million to prove these reserves up, and they walked from it because it was too small, right? 330 ounces is nothing. That's a day's production for them. So they walked. So I've got it. My guy owns it. So I'm working on it. I've got gold coming from the Philippines into Switzerland right now that's already been hallmarked, right? So we'll see where we go with it. But the cheapest for us to do is go through the mine system because we can get a big spread, and we can get put a 10% discount into the trust, which would then have a reserve. So you got a 10% discount on a 2 to 1 reserve, and then just buy and sell. So I don't want to be in fiat anymore, right? I don't want to be pegged to the dollar or pegged to the euro or pegged to the pound. It's fucked up. Now, dollar's going to go up, everything else is going to go down, and then eventually the dollar's going to pop, and eventually it's all going to pop. So at that point, I hope, we're all figuring out a way to peg ourselves in gold. So if we've got this gold-backed stablecoin that we can then pair with Pulse and PulseX and Hex, and then we can get out of those and take profits in those and hold on to just the gold side that's still stable, I think we got something. And I've got the ability to store, I've got the storage and the security and all of that. So it just comes down to logistics and money and getting it,
Yeah, Ben, you were. I think this was you talking the other night. You were saying you were going to get it on paper and try and.
Yeah, yesterday when we were talking with Rack about it, but
okay,
I'm in the beginning stages of my conversations with the dev team. I got a dev guy that's won there's some international dev award that he's won for 12 years in a row or something. So I don't know. I'm just waiting. They're just all in the middle of closing a bunch of different deals, buying a hotel, doing stuff. So I'm just waiting to try to have some conversations. They're the ones with the money. They're the ones that'll basically head this thing up. I'm just the visionary, man. I'm just the economist that tries to figure it out.
I'll say this much right now. If there's ever a time that people would look at something new when it comes to a stable coin, it would be now, right? It's
for sure
kind of ripe for a new idea. So good luck with that, man.
And look, gold is certainly not to be an investment, right? This whole thing with Richard and Peter Schiff. I mean, gold is never an investment. It's a cash allocation. That's all it is. It's not volatile. It's not supposed to be. I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be like Bitcoin at all. I want it to fucking go nowhere, right? I want it to be slow and steady, and that's it. Right. And that's what would be good for us as far as a stable coin goes.
Well, I mean, it's ran over 250% over the last 30 years, 20 years.
I'll take that. That's great. That's good for a stable coin if you're going to use an asset to back a stable coin.
Yeah, it's done okay, right?
Hey, G, you have real quick, you have a question? You had your hand up for a minute.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I've been reading a lot lately about the Fed coin is basically a certainty, whether it's in 6 months or a year. Could it be pegged to a Fed coin? Perhaps if PulseChain is delayed till next year, maybe the timing will be such that could happen.
That's the fucking last thing we want in the world. We don't want anything to do with the Fed coin.
Well, I'd love to hear your take on that.
Why on earth would anything that we are a part of want to be connected to the Fed coin? That would be the worst thing ever.
Yeah, having that being something for individuals to use, not a good thing. Having it for something for the Fed to use with banking entities and for international transfers between banking entities, sure, then that's the digital version of what they do now digitally, right? Just a crypto version of it.
They're going to program that thing so you can be rest assured that they're going to use the ESG score and they're going to control your life if you have anything to do with that Fed coin. So I would never in a million years, I would lobby, I would beg, I would fly anywhere and meet anyone to try to convince them to not peg Pulse or PulseX or Hex or whatever project and bringing Fed coin into our ecosystem. We want nothing to do with it. In fact, the whole purpose of this is to actually depeg ourselves away from fiat, away from the Fed, so we can grow our money exponentially and then protect ourselves in our lifestyle away from it all. That's why I want to create the gold-backed stablecoin, so we don't got to worry about it. And if we can create an on-ramp or a Visa connected to the gold-backed stablecoin, we're golden. We don't got to worry about shit.
You guys want to hear my Fed coin conspiracy theory?
Would love to.
So, USDC, right? It's owned 50% by Circle, 50% by Coinbase. Circle is owned almost entirely by BlackRock, which we know is a more or less an extension arm of the US government. In August of last year, Coinbase removed the statement for USDC that it was backed 100% by actual US dollars. So what it's backed by now, we don't really know. Then, a few months ago, if you remember, they released the statement saying, hey, if we ever declared bankruptcy, we will steal all of your crypto, more or less. Well, you become a creditor in a bankruptcy case, but you can basically consider that stolen because you're not going to, no normal person is going to go through that process and you'd still probably get nothing. So Coinbase stock is on an extreme drop. I would hope it's not backing USDC at all, but who knows? Because they removed the statement that it's backed by actual US dollars. And additionally, we're well believed to be heading towards recession. So if they wanted to build a Fed coin when BlackRock already owns essentially 50% of USDC, seems like the quickest method would be bankrupt Coinbase and buy it with BlackRock funds entirely. And you get everyone else's crypto, so you can use that as a backing or for more market control or whatever. Seems like a pretty easy thing to do, especially if the executives are hell-bent on dumping that stock to nothing. So just as I kind of think the Fed coin will probably end up being USDC in the long run.
Interesting.
Thanks for that, Alex. We're all on the list now. You're awesome.
So
Damn
guys,
it, and I thought it was going to be XRP. Fuck, I got to sell that shit now, huh?
Let's not forget that the whole purpose of, well, one of the main purposes of crypto is to remove middlemen, to remove counterparty risk. You know, I'm not trying to shit on anyone's parade here, but you know, if you're against fiat or you're against the central reserve, but you're also trying to become essentially the central reserve and become the middleman, because there is counterparty risk and oversight and all sorts of levers and handles that have to be pulled when you're using a physical asset that's off chain as the backing for a stablecoin that's on chain. So, you just have to just tread very carefully how you do that or why you would want to do that. If the argument is that you don't like the middleman and counterparty of the Federal Reserve.
The government gets, well, I should say that, well, you know how they get adoption is they offer, people that aren't in crypto tax breaks in the form of shit like the Fed coin. I could see that happening, saying, you know what, here's where you're going to get a tax break, you're going to get this or whatever, and you're going to get it. Allocation of so I could see them doing some shit like that to gain adoption and get people in. It's scary, but I don't think it's that far off.
I mean, could you imagine a world where, the Fed essentially takes control of USDC and then gives everyone in the country stimulus payments through USDC?
Dude, I see that. I could see that happening, right? I could totally see that. It's kind of scary, bro. And people that aren't in crypto will just be like, wait, I got some free money. Oh, it's crypto? Oh, okay. How do I, and you know what I mean? They'll dumb it down so it's like some super generic wallet that they can access with half a brain and they'll be happy. Scary shit, dude.
Yeah, and in reality, the Federal Reserve owning USDC would be the Federal Reserve's biggest wet dream they could ever imagine.
Oh yeah, 100%.
KDP, you have your hand up.
Isn't that why most people are sitting on edge at the moment with the rolling effect of liquidations around the corner? Because centralized exchanges are, in theory, the new banks of today. And if the new banks of today are on the verge of bankruptcy, well, they need to look to somebody to bail them out. The only person that can bail them out right now is the government. So,
Well, if they come bail them out, they're gonna make a deal, and that's an ownership deal for them.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying.
And real quick before we kind of wrap this up a little bit, Hex Hangout, you had a question.
Oh no, I was just going to throw in on if they wanted to send out USDC to everyone, banks are now allowed. Banks are allowed to do custodial crypto, so the banks would just create a wallet for you, and like Coinbase does, they would just give you, here's your wallet address for today.
Exactly.
Well, they already all created a wallet for us when we did when they did the stimulus payments. Those were all Fed direct payments. Those were not payments through the banks. Those were actually from the Fed. So they've plugged us all in already.
Give you a crypto wallet. Here's your Fed coin, asshole. Oh God.
And whoever was talking about the 25th word or the passphrase on their wallets, yeah, it totally works on Ethereum. It's awesome.
Good stuff, Jesse. I was in a security chat the other day. It was pretty intense with this guy John, some big brain security guys, and they were going pretty hardcore on hardware wallets, dude. Ledger versus Trezor, and they definitely all agreed that Ledger was the better hardware wallet. Just FYI, so I'd let you know.
Explanation. Because Trezor is open source, and you can listen. If Ledger goes down, I don't know what you're gonna do, but Trezor is open source. Anybody, let's say the company fails, goes under, you can just literally create your own Trezor device.
I was shocked by them saying that, and it went pretty deep. I'll be honest with you. Some of it was like the terms they were using went over my head. It was like some crazy. I can't remember the terms they were using, but it was like some security type, I don't know.
This was actually my alt account for the John McCoy.
What is Ledger?
John, yeah.
If Ledger goes under, what does that have to do with the fact if you have your crypto in a ledger? It's not going to affect it,
Yeah.
right?
So just imagine if your device fails, but the company no longer exists, right?
Wait, John, is he here? Is John here?
You have technical difficulties. Please stand by. You're saying, right?
Yeah, so your stuff will literally get be stuck because their code, their hardware is not open source. But Treasure, their hardware or their the operating system in there is completely open source. So even if the company fails, it's okay because literally somebody else will just spool up a new company.
So is that why Treasure? Is that why Treasure is better?
Well, hang on.
Yeah, so it's just longevity of the operating system, the firmware or whatever.
I thought they said that Ledger was better at first.
Wait. Yeah. That's what they were saying, John. So sorry, Hex Hangout, right?
Yeah. It's
can
my
you speak on
yeah.
this? Can you speak on that?
Sure. When I looked at the two, the one that set Ledger way ahead was the 25th word of the passphrase on the Ledger was entered on the hardware device and not on the computer. And you could bind it off to a secondary pin, which gave you the option to like unlock your device under duress. You could optionally open it to another pin. That was really nice. And on the Trezor, you had to type it in on the computer. That was like the main why Ledger was better.
So you might want to get in a conversation with Jexa about this. He owns a security education company. They teach it institutions and stuff. In fact, if you ever have issues where you've forgotten your PIN number or you've forgotten your secret passphrase, they actually run a service where you can fly out to him and his company or whatever, and he's got the tools to tap into your hardware device and run some scripts and attempt to extract your secret passphrases and such and recover your stuff. He's really good at what he does. Now he 100% will recommend a Ledger device. And I can't speak for him, but there is added layer of security when you have a PIN number that has to go into one device, but you have to type on a different device, a secret passphrase, and you segregate those two. Even though, so what? So you're typing a phrase onto a computer, but how does it that doesn't do any good for a hacker or even in a key logging situation, it's a phrase that means nothing. They don't know. Your phrase could be, "I love to go to the beach on Sunday," right? And that literally means
if that phrase is entered many times, a keylogger will pick up on that 100%.
Yeah, for sure. But imagine trying to type that into a Trezor. It would take you an hour to try and click the buttons and put that into a Trezor, a Ledger device. It would be ridiculous.
Oh, you only put it in once and then bind it off to a secondary pin optionally. But yeah, you could type it in. And I see your point. Yeah, if you enter it in a secondary device that has some upside, I would love to get a hold of that Jexa. If you could DM me his contact or something, I'm down.
Yeah, Jexa, Jexxa. One technique that some people use who get deep into protecting their seed and their crypto and stuff. Imagine having your seed phrase, and of course, don't just write it down. Put it on metal. Whether that's a crypto steel device or they have the tubes that you can put all your seed phrases and stuff in there. And you keep that, at your place of residence. But also, it's okay. If you had to put a backup copy of that somewhere else, just in case your house burns down to a crisp and even that thing melts and you can't find it, have another backup of that in steel or whatever at a relative's house or at your parents' house or wherever, hidden away. Drill a hole in a wall and slide that thing in the hole or whatever. That's fine. If anybody finds those seed phrases, it doesn't matter because there's nothing in those. Now, what you do with a with a Trezor, is when you plug that thing in, of course, your Trezor has the seed already in it, right? You just have the PIN number to log into the Trezor. But it'll ask you right there on the home screen, do you want to access one of your hidden wallets? And you can have millions of hidden wallets. So you just type it, right? Maybe a hidden wallet is the Earth is certainly round, or the Earth is round, right? Maybe that's your hidden wallet. As soon as you type that, it's going to open up that series of wallets attached to that word. Now you don't ever want to forget those passphrases, and you can have infinite number of them, and you don't want to forget those. So what do? Right? Because you don't want to get in a car accident and forget, and you also don't want to store those at the same location as your seed phrases. So what do? Well, it's actually okay to put those into an application like LastPass with two-factor authentication. You can store documents in there. You can store passwords in there. And these hidden passphrases mean absolutely nothing. Nobody's going to access your LastPass through all the two-factor authentication and all this stuff. But even if they do, it's completely irrelevant, because they would have to have that. They would have to know you're in crypto. They would have to be at your parents' house and know where the seed phrase thing is. And it literally segregates off of one device and puts onto different devices different pieces of how you would access your crypto. You can't just go to one location and hack a guy. You literally have to get into a guy's two-factor authentication, his LastPass, but then go here and go there and put all these pieces of the puzzle together onto a new Trezor device to be able to steal somebody's crypto. And when you do that, you also have the ability to set it up so if you die, for example, your spouse or whoever can call LastPass or contact LastPass and say, hey, so-and-so has died. I'm requesting access to all their passwords. And you have set up a dead man protocol where they'll try and contact you, say, for like 30 days. And if after 30 days of them calling you and emailing you and texting you, they don't get a hold of you, then they release all those passwords to your significant other. But even that significant other would have to know that you have seed phrases somewhere else and put all that together. I mean, it's not complicated. You've told them, hey, listen, this is a seed phrase. You're going to put this into a Trezor device, but you also need my passwords. Those are on LastPass. LastPass will release those to you only in the event of my death if you contact them. Okay? And then, that's how you pass your crypto on from generation to generation, and you protect yourself. You cannot do these same techniques with a ledger device. Sure, you can add a 25th word, like one single one, and it's on the same device. You still have the storage issue where you're going to store that 25th word.
And certainly LastPass or safety deposit box or with lawyers and it's nice. You could give a different passphrase to each one of your kids or give different relatives one. Yeah.
Businesses can use it too, right? So you can set up one seed phrase to run a business, and then each, department in your business gets their own passphrase. So they all have their own Trezor devices. They plug them in, but they don't know the passphrases of all the other departments. They only know their particular passphrase. So they have their series of wallets they can manage. You, as the owner of the company, can, have all of the passwords or whatever, so you can see all the different accounting. But it also segregates those departments from each other. Or you could do that with your family members. One seed phrase for your entire family. Each member of your family gets their own passphrase. They have their own wallets. It's a very beautiful thing that's very easy to do with a Trezor.
Good combo, guys. I like the back and forth. Jesse, I know you love that Trezor. I like my Ledger. Well, I wonder why Jack said. I'd like to know why he recommends Ledger as well.
I tried looking up JEXA, but Jesse, I do a security Saturday space. It'd be awesome to have you come through.
Yeah, Jesse, you'd like it, bud. You should definitely check it out.
So Jesse, you're a treasure guy. Jesse, you're a treasure guy.
Yeah. So I have a number of ledgers that I've always used, and then I just I heard Papa B always talking about treasure, and then Jexa kept hammering into me, "You need to get a treasure. You need to try it, and here's why." And so I just bought a couple of them actually. And once I played around with it, and I saw how it segregates the way I talked about, and how easy it is, I will never go back to a ledger.
Does it have the big buttons though? Because my ledger,
No, it's touchscreen, dude.
has the bigger
It's literally
buttons.
It's a little mini touch screen.
Dude, I got big hands, man. I feel like I'd just be fumbling with that thing.
No, man. No, it's a little touch screen. With a green button or a red button. Do you want to confirm the transaction or not confirm the transaction? It's easy.
One of the nice things you can do with your ledger is you can set it up with Fido as one of your wallets, and that's a 2FA for LastPass or Google or whatever you want, and it works great.
And you can segregate out different amounts, so you can use multiple treasures, and downloading all of your crypto in one shot. You can.
So when you set up 2FA on your Gmail or
right.
Yeah, your 2FA could be a ledger, and it'll pop up, hey, do you want to authorize this transaction of logging into LastPass or Google? And it works against your seed phrase. It's like a 2FA, but instead of on your phone or whatever, it's your ledger. I mean, I don't know. It's a lateral option. It's good if everyone does something different. It's just an idea.
Well, I'm saying when you upload into the treasure, I want 4 treasures, and I'm going to put 25% of my pulse in it or whatever, right?
You can do that, but you have unlimited wallets though. On either treasure or ledger, once you get in there, you'll see wallet 1, wallet 2, and it literally just goes on for millions and millions of wallets.
Gotcha.
We need some graphene people in here.
Graphene is a whole nother topic, and I love graphene. There's actually other techniques you can do with certain Samsung devices to to put crypto in encrypted folders behind where only you can access them. Normally I don't talk about graphene or Samsung Knox and all this stuff, but one of these days we're going to do a whole space just on graphene and software, how to safely store crypto through certain software wallets on encrypted devices, certain encrypted cell phones. I think that's a great topic.
When is your Saturday security? What time is that in Pacific time?
11.
Every
Saturday.
Or in the afternoon?
11 afternoon Pacific.
Awesome.
It's really
what's
good.
Your name on here? What's your name on here?
The John McCoy. Oh.
So Jesse, I was in the last one that they had, and it was cool because I actually brought up I really like the idea about incorporating a hardware wallet into a cell phone. I love that idea, and they were talking about the possibilities of that without it getting compromised through almost like a partitioning of the phone. The guys that were in there, John, were really cool. Lots of great ideas, smart guys. You guys would like the security Twitter Spaces. It's really good.
I think you can use Kiwi browser and install an instance. You can install MetaMask as an extension, just like you can on your computer, on Kiwi browser on an Android device. And you can do that behind an encrypted folder if you choose.
What about Brave?
I don't know if can you install extensions on the Brave browser on an Android. I don't know, but with Kiwi browser you can. I know for sure. The challenge becomes like the bridge connection, because normally you also need to have installed on your computer, like Ledger Live or Treasure Suite. So, like, there's no way to install that unless you get a community modified version on an Android. And there, of course, there's a little risk that comes with that. But you can get a hardware device to work on a cell phone, but it's really complicated. I don't know why, like, the native Android or iPhone version of MetaMask doesn't have the ability to click connect hardware wallet, and then you could just do it like regular. Like, why haven't they done this after all these years?
I kind of think HTC said they did it a couple of years ago, but I never actually used it. But they have like a secure enclave kind of chip inside of it that stores your keys, almost like what's inside of a Ledger or Trezor, supposedly. But HTC keeps saying that they've made blockchain compatible phones. And I gave you a follow, Jesse, from my other account. And yeah. And I'm a security engineer. That's my day job. And I have a whole doxable background and all that. And I try to be really open and helpful and donate time to the community and all that.
Yeah, we appreciate that, John.
Yeah, we'll say.
John, next there to the Jex's Twitter handle. Shoot him a message. Tell him you talked to Jesse and invite him to your next security talk. Because that's all he like. That's his specialty.
Nice.
So, guys, I know we're going to end the spaces here in a few minutes. So, before I forget, I did in the tweet that I sent out, said that we might give away an NFT. So the pulse bombs that you saw in the tweet, let's give one away. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let me pick somebody here. I'll put in our text message. I'm gonna text somebody a number between 1 and 1,000 if you're interested in one of the NFTs. We're gonna go ahead and launch a testnet batch, and I'm gonna send it once it's out. I'll send the image of it, and then we'll send you the actual one when we launch the NFTs on testnet, and then we'll give you a real one once the chain goes live. So if you like NFTs and you think you want one, pick a number between 1 and 1,000. Send me a DM, ToshiFlow, on Twitter, and whoever's the closest to between 1 and 1,000 will win. So if
your DMs
cool
are closed, man. Your DMs are closed.
Mine are? No.
It's only open to a select few.
Hold on a second.
You gotta follow me back. Follow me back.
That was going to be an easy win there.
Who is it? Who wants me to follow him?
Vin.
Okay, Vin, I got you. Here, I'll follow everybody in here real quick, so make it fair, right? But just between number 1 and 1,000, I'm gonna shoot it to the guys right here. So let's see, 4 people will see the number here. And then whoever gets the closest, I will shoot you the image, and then we'll shoot you the NFT once we launch. So I just want to say thank you guys for for being here tonight. We really appreciate the community coming together and talking about all kinds of stuff and projects, and it's just awesome. So thank you guys all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
It was a great night. Yeah, thank you too, Alex. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
And if there's a tie with this, guys, for some weird reason, and we'll send out a couple. Okay.
It's an awesome space.
Yeah. And just as a note, we're going to try to take this recording and put a thumbnail on it and put it on the PowerCity YouTube channel. So if you guys would like to send links around with it or whatever, or if you found something in there that you wanted to revisit and you didn't want to do it on a recorded Twitter Spaces, that should be available.
Thank you, TD, for hosting.
No problem, guys. It's fun.
Yeah, thanks everyone. This was good. Hannah's gone, but I'll close out by saying what he would normally say. You're gonna be rich, boy.
Yeah, he's taking a nap.
Give me just a minute before you close out. I'm trying to follow in here everybody I can. Give me just a second. I'm almost done. I can tell you right now, somebody actually nailed it already. Pretty funny. He luckily hit it.
We're going to be trying to do 2 of these a week, these Twitter Spaces. So keep an eye open for us. We'll try to get the message out to you guys. And again, we appreciate everyone for showing up. Great night. It was a lot of fun with everybody. A lot of alphas showed up in this group. There was a lot of alpha in here tonight.
Yeah, we had devs from probably 4, 5, 6 projects in here. That was or founders from that many projects, right?
Yep.
And that's what we want. That's what we want, right?
Alex counts as 2, right? Dev and founder.
This is true.
I'll try to catch these a bit more often. It's difficult to build things and do this, but these are always fun.
Yeah, you got to take the time out to meet with the community, man. I know it's hard. Get so busy right now with all this, but it's awesome. Thanks for coming in, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, I think I got everybody followed in here at least that's still in here. So good luck, guys.
All right, awesome. Thank you, everybody. It's Triplet Dad 007 signing off. Please join us on our next one. We'll be posting some new links here shortly. Do these every 2-3 days, just like Pulse Jesus said. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks, Triplet.
Thanks, TD. Thanks, everybody. Have a good